So this is now part three of this series of my experience with fruit festivals and so on. So part three, I'm going to Thailand to hang out with Connor, and Chris Randall was out there, and a guy called Jake Ironmonger, a guy called Jonas that I hadn't met before. Jake had been at Woodstock, but I didn't really connect with him. Chris had been at Woodstock, but I didn't really meet him that much. And there was a bunch of people out, and Paul and Yulia Tarbeth, who'd been at Woodstock, they were there, and there was a bunch of other people from the UK who were based in Thailand at the point, and just awesome. Like it was another great time. But I remember landing in Thailand and getting there and realizing it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because people had presented Thailand online, especially Durian Rider, as being like the fruit is amazing. It's just on another level. And I went to Thailand and I was trying the fruit and I was like, this tastes like fruit. It wasn't like this other level experience. The bananas tasted like bananas. In fact, the bananas back home tasted better. And, a lot of the other things were good. But it was where I really developed a love for durian and really started to understand how amazing durian is. And I stayed in a little place. I kind of got ripped off a little bit, I think. Maybe not ripped off. I'd eaten mangoes in a bed, and I had to pay for like the sheets and stuff because I got mango juice all over the place. Um, I don't know where the second place I ever lived was, but a lot of the guys were staying in this block of apartments, and I ended up staying there. Um, got really sunburned one day, had to stay in all the time to recover from that. Uh, I just remember like cycling around. We had our Woodstock t-shirts on, and it was one of the guys' birthdays. We went to the only raw restaurant there, and we went in and we were like, "Do you do 80-10-10?" Like we were all into the 80-10-10 thing, and he was like, "No, no, we don't do." Oh, and he was like, "Oh yeah, everyone talks about 80-10-10," and it was funny, and yeah, we had a great time, but it wasn't to me like a magical thing, being in Thailand. To me, the great thing was being with Connor and being with these other guys that I met, and getting to know some of these people. But there was a few moments of the illusion bursting a little bit, because Chris Randall had been a raw vegan, obviously at Woodstock, but he started eating cooked food again. And I said that he was public about it eventually, but he was eating cooked food again, and I was almost kind of disappointed in that, and that was a bit of a shame. The rest of us were still basically trying to eat raw and everything. And but I remember having a few experiences there that were like, I remember having some mangoes there, and saying that the fruit wasn't that special. I remember having some mangoes there that were like, I had some kind of weird, almost like spiritual experience. And then the durian, I had like amazing feelings and amazing time with. I loved the durian, got really into that, and um, I've got videos actually. Some of the earliest videos on my channel come from that time. And eventually, obviously, went home, and I was booked to go back to Woodstock. But I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to try to go to all these events. There was one in Denmark, there was one in Slovenia, there was one in Spain, and I'm like, I'm going to try and go to them all. I probably booked for Denmark first, then Spain. I think Slovenia was last, and Woodstock. So I went to like five. I went to Thailand to be around other raw vegans. I went to Denmark, Slovenia, Spain, Woodstock. So I went to five, and then I went to something in the UK. Um, and I remember having a fantastic time in Denmark. It was just amazing. Once again, great people, great place. I got to meet Rosalind for the first time. Never met Rosalind Graham. Um, Met other friends there for the first time. Just a beautiful experience. Another beautiful experience. And I was like, this is great. Wherever you go to these events, they're great. The people are great. I don't know if Chris Kendall might. No, he probably wasn't there that year. But just brilliant. And I just, once again, I was so open to it and so naive and so positive, you know, just loved it. Just was falling in love with the whole thing, you know. And went to Slovenia before Woodstock, I think. Had a great time in Slovenia. Like I remember getting, it was my friend Jari who I'd met in Thailand. He was in Slovenia, so I ended up staying with him for a little bit. Had a great time with him. We went out swimming. Probably got videos about that on my channel as well. Um, there was a great party, and Doug was there. I started to speak to Doug a bit more for the first time. Really got to know Grant Campbell a bit more. Polly and Yulia were there again. Um, and that was another magical like 4 or 5 days in Slovenia. Loved it. Loved the location. Beautiful time. Great food. The food was better actually in Denmark and Slovenia than it had been in Woodstock. Um, beautiful, beautiful experience. Got to listen to Doug. Got to listen to Rosalind more. Blown away by Rosalind especially, and really special time. And left that, went to Woodstock the second time. For a lot, seen a lot of the same friends again. Sadly, some people don't come back, and you're like, it's not quite the same experience, but it's a new experience every time. And it changed a little bit in the second year because the thing was more popular now, and all of a sudden there's people there with almost an agenda, slightly. Not really like that anymore right now, but at that point, a lot of people were going because of the to make YouTube videos and build a YouTube channel, and there was people that were quite calculated in what they were doing. I felt they were going there to make content and film things and build a YouTube channel, and a lot of them did that off the back of Woodstock. And I would say some of them then criticised Woodstock after it, which to me wasn't very good. Wasn't very good of them. But so the vibe was slightly different, but still awesome. The food was better for sure, and I once again met more great people and got to spend time with friends, and uh, it was great. It was once again a great thing, a beautiful thing. Um, and then I came back and I went to Spain, and I would say the one in Spain, I loved that, but it was dampened by the fact that I actually got a little bit sick. I'd been doing a lot of traveling, but it was intense, and I didn't bring a sleeping bag once again. Big mistake. So I'm trying to cover up, and I'm getting cold at night, and I'm also for some reason having to get up and piss like 5 times a night. It was weird. I never do that, so I didn't enjoy it as much because of that. Because of that, but it was an. I remember we all met up at this cafe thing. We all got on a bus together. Some people from other festivals were there. That was a totally different audience. A lot of the other audience was 80-10-10 crowd. The Spanish festival was like just a crazy group of people, like totally different group of people. Old like natural hygiene people from France, instinctivore kind of people, different vibe altogether. Really cool. Really, really cool. Great fruit. Amazing. The first time I had like amazing figs, you know, great figs, and they had watermelon. And I remember one guy for years, he was like, oh, nothing compares to the fruit at the Spanish festival, you know. Right? And the figs were great. But a lot of the fruit wasn't perfectly ripe at the time and stuff, but had a great time. We were going down the river, beautiful river, swimming. People were getting naked. We were getting naked. Um, great experience. Great experience. But I was a little bit chilled because of the at night, kind of getting a bit sick almost because of being cold. That was my fault. There wasn't really any speeches or talks. It was more discussion groups. So it was different, a little bit less well organized, but that's okay. And remember going for a walk and looking down this kind of valley, and it was this amazing, almost biblical experience of seeing like this grove of orange trees. I'd never seen that before, citrus trees. And they're just all there, and it was absolutely breathtaking to me, beautiful. I was really connected into the power of the fruit then, you know. And I was in this bar to get Wi-Fi. I'm sitting and maybe doing some work or whatever I was doing. And I look up and there's like grapes growing, grapevines growing in this bar. Like just vines with tons of grapes on them. I was amazed by it. And people are all in having steak and beer and stuff in this place, you know. So funny. And so that was the end of that odyssey, you know. Um, and I wanted to try and continue that. I didn't. But what happened next was I then actually collaborated on putting on an event because we didn't have someone that was doing that in the UK. But there was a lot of people in the UK, so it became a thing. And there had been an event in the December or sometime the year before, which I've missed out in this story, with people from the UK getting together in a flat in London, in Chelsea in London actually, which I've missed out the story of that. But a lot of people from Woodstock went to there as well. Um, but I got involved in created this thing, Fruit Camp, with my friends, and we had a good time and everything. But it changed my experience of this whole thing, because when I put on the Fruit Camp, I said we're going to do a festival, and it was the first time in my life that I'd really stood up and said I'm going to do something for me, you know, not for me, but I'm going to do something for other people. But it's going to be my thing that I'm the leader of. I guess didn't really want to be a leader or whatever, but it was just there was a vacuum there, and I was the most passionate person probably about this diet and this lifestyle that wanted to put it together. And I spoke to Doug in Slovenia and had said we should do something in the UK. He said, if you do something in the UK, I'll support it. When I went to Woodstock, he said Ronnie's going to do an event in the UK in front of an audience. So I thought I developed the vision and the dream of doing that. And I started to take the steps of putting together what became the UK Fruitfest. And a whole bunch of friends were working on it at one point, and a lot of those people, well, every single one of those people isn't involved anymore. But that changed my whole thing, because up to that point, it was just fun and open and everything. Like, that was my experience. And that changed. I changed as a person when I put on the UK Fruitfest. I changed forever. And to some extent, I could never quite be that person again. I've still got that in me, but it's taken me a long time to get back to that, because putting on the Fruit Festival was another transformational experience. Maybe not entirely in a good way. Since looking back, in a good way, yes, but it was a really, really difficult experience for me putting on the first Fruit Festival. Just had the belief and the vision and the passion. Didn't have any of the skills or the abilities or anything else. Just trying to make it happen on a wing and a prayer and a hope and a dream, and somehow made it happen. But it almost was like so many obstacles and barriers and things got in the way that I couldn't believe, that I didn't realize. And I didn't realize the emotion involved. That took me. I felt like I was the most emotionally balanced, relaxed, calm person. And whenever I saw people freaking out, I'd be like, these people don't know how to handle themselves, you know? And I just didn't realize I'd never really been responsible for anything before. You know, I thought I was really chilled out, but it's not until you're really responsible and you really get pushed and you're really stressed that you really see how you're able to handle things. And the group of people that were going to work on it that quickly disintegrated. There were problems. One of the problems, we were just about to launch UK Fruitfest, and we put up a group online, we put up a post online. It started to get lots of attention and interest, and lots of people were saying, oh, I'm going to come, and this is great, and well done, and fantastic. You know? And but then what happened was what happened with the team at Woodstock fell apart. And that super team of people was never the same again, because there was Harley, there was Freely, there was there was obviously Dan the Man, Christina, Doug Graham, and everyone was kind of together. They were all slightly different, but they were kind of together. And the movement was together, and everything was pushing forward. And Durian Rider and Freely had went back to eating cooked food. They started to promote that more. They were then not going to be pioneers at Woodstock anymore. They started to attack, well, Harley started to attack Woodstock. They fell out with everyone. They were attacking Doug Graham, his reputation, and Doug Graham was booked to come to UK Fruitfest. And we're just about to launch this festival, and all of a sudden, there's chaos in the raw vegan movement, just as we're about to launch this event. And I just couldn't believe it. And looking back, if I was giving advice to myself, if I saw a person in my shoes, looking back with what I know now, I would have told them, don't do this event. Just cancel. And I would have probably told them, go and help one of the other events. If you've got a passion for it, go and speak to the Danish festival and say, I want to work with you guys. I want to help you out. I want to get people from the UK to this event. That's probably what I should have done. You know? Because that year was the most difficult of my life, and I was completely unprepared for it, and I didn't really have any good advice. I didn't have a mentor. I probably could have found one, but I didn't really reach out to anyone, and it was difficult, and I couldn't handle my emotions. I'd never felt, because what was happening was when people we thought this was this great thing we're trying to do, and people would criticize it, and you took it personally. I never felt like that before with anything I was doing. I used to be in a band, and if people had said they didn't like the band, I'm like, well, whatever, you know, because it wasn't really my band. It was someone else, and I was in the band. But this was like my band. This is my thing, my gig. And all of a sudden, you're taking it really personally. And crazy things start to happen, and people act weirdly, and you realize people are kind of weird sometimes, and trying to get the message out there, and don't know how to do that. I don't have a clue what we're doing. Put on an event in London, was really a success and did well, but we didn't even know how to sign up people to go to the festival from it. Didn't even ask people to sign up. Didn't know what we were doing at all. And people didn't even realize the Fruit Festival was going on. We couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe that no one knew that it was happening. And that was a struggle, and working with different people was a struggle, and finding the venue and driving around and all the financial responsibility, and at the same time working full time, and then one by one people dropping out because they're thinking, oh, this isn't going to be a success. So a number of the people that were very close and were working on it, they never went to the festival. They've never been to this day. They've never been to this day. And they were part of the people that created it. They just fell out with either me, or they didn't like someone who was going there or something. There was a bunch of people that said they were going to pay me and didn't pay me, and came anyway, and they never paid me ever again, you know. They never paid. Stuff like that really hurt more than I realized. People copied some of my ideas, stole some of my ideas, used it for other things, they were doing that hurt. Um, it was just totally unprepared for that. So by the time that I went to Denmark afterwards and went to Woodstock, I was kind of we'd done this event and it had been successful. And I'm not telling the whole story of the UK Fruitfest, but it was super more difficult than I realised. And looking back, it was like an event with 60 people, you know, really just 45 people, and a busload of people kind of came at the end. And most of the people that came, like a lot of them were volunteers and things like that, and the speakers, and we didn't really have that many attendees. Um, it was so difficult and lost so much money, more than I'd ever imagined. Just didn't even expect that to happen. Thought it would be really successful. Thought loads of people would go, and since many times people have said to me like, "Oh, I could get loads of people to come to UK Fruit Fest, or I could get loads of people to come to a fruit festival." I'm like, you really don't know. Like it's it's a lot harder than you think. Um, but I was staring like this kind of financial Armageddon and thinking, okay, we're actually going to lose a lot of money. Um, because I was thinking there'd be like 100 to 150 people there, and there was like a lot less. And started to look at the whole thing, and I just started to think to myself, I need to make money. How do I make money? Never focused on making money ever. Didn't even focus on that. And the weird thing was, I was thinking, how do I make money rather than how do I get more people signed up to this festival? This is the confused thinking. And that's when I started to research, so I started to actually learn how these things worked and how to promote things and how to advertise and how gradually start to put that stuff together. I was kind of forced to do that through the festival. And that allowed the festival to continue and get better and bigger. But I made many mistakes over the years. Many mistakes over and over. And a lot of it was just my own lack of not putting enough work into it, to be honest. And that's what it was. I had the passion, I had the idea, I had the people, but I was failing. I failed. At the same time, the event was always great. It was always fantastic, but it was always not what it could have been, and that was a shame. And but over the years, I continued to go to Denmark and have a great time. I continued to go to Woodstock. I went to the Austrian festival. I went obviously the Canada Fruit Fest and co-founded that twice. Went to that. Went to Thailand a bunch of times, and everything's just been an amazing journey, you know. But I after the UK Fruit Fest experience, I remember going back to Woodstock, and Victoria Arnstein said, "What's wrong with you? You're not happy anymore," or something like that. And she was right. That the weight of that year and the stress of it had really taken a toll on me as a person. Really taken a toll. And I know that you probably can't imagine it because you're like, but you're saying it was just 60 people and it was this thing. It's like, yeah, but it was a whole. There's a lot of stuff that happened, a lot of experiences, and a lot of stuff that came up, and um, yeah, crazy times. I don't know if I regret the whole thing. Maybe putting on the festival. I don't know. Maybe I should have never done that. But it changed my life again in terms of what I learned from it. I learned a lot, an awful lot. It changed me as a person. Totally changed me. It changed me how I look at the world. That experience, because I realized that those people that are trying to do things like that in the world, they are doing far more than you realize. And it's not the work, it's the stress, the emotion of it, the dealing with the people of it. Um, it's it's not good for the human system to some degree. And the stress that some people put themselves under, especially in entrepreneurship and leadership, they really need to grow as people. They really need to develop a lot of empathy and compassion and patience with people. it's really unbelievable. And I started to admire different people more because of that. I started to realize, wow, they're really the people out there that are just even running a shop or something. There's definitely this like it's amazing to be honest. It seems like it's nothing, but it's not like having a job when you run the place or run the thing or you're responsible. I had two people threaten to actually sue me or to some degree take some kind of legal action as a result of it. I won't go into that, but that's one of the crazy stories that happened that first year. I mean, it really was crazy stuff was happening. It was almost like it was a test, almost like all these bad things happened, and it was very tough. It's funny. I don't even know now if I'm like, but it was for the best. It's for the best because the event has been good, and I've always kept the event going because of that. But I've secretly often not enjoyed a lot of the moments of doing this and working on it and putting the UK Fruit Fest together. And I don't do it for my own personal vanity and or my ego or something like that. I've done it because I know there's people out there that need to hear this. That's what's inspired me to keep going with it. And I've been inspired to stay in this movement because of my amazing the friends and the connections and the people that um, I'm gonna be in touch with the rest of my in their life, you know, in some way or other. And I'll be going to these events. If I stop doing UK Fruit Fest, I'm gonna continue to prioritize going to these kind of festivals and events, and hopefully someone will keep them going. You know, it's been just the time of my life, and I really, I encourage you to go. These are incredible experiences. They may not last forever, and the Woodstock thing is such a one-off, such a one-off, and UK Fruit Fest is such a one-off. There's not another. There's only a few other small events now, you know, that came out of these other events, copycat events. UK Fruit Fest was a copycat event from Woodstock in Denmark and Slovenia and all these other things. And I think overall, I'd have to say it's worth it. When I get to UK Fruit Fest this year, and I hope you can come, I'm probably going to remember why it's all worth it. But man, has it been a stress and a struggle over the years. If this thing does well and becomes successful and all that, and not even going into what happened with coronavirus. I mean, that was just did not see that one coming. Did not see that one coming. That's just another part of the crazy story of the UK Fruit Fest, and it's been the challenge of my life, honestly. But I really hope that we've touched some people. We've got the message out. Our advertising and social media, in total, I think we've reached actually millions of people. We've reached to some degree, not like they know about the festival, but they've seen a video of ours. They've seen clips from the festival. They've seen content about the festival and about the lifestyle and the diet, and we've got something out there. We've got a message out there, and as I say, it's been the time of my life, and the passion, and who knows what's next and where it goes from here. But that's my story of the fruit festivals in 3 videos, and I really hope that you can come along. UK fruitfest.co.uk. You can there's Woodstock Fruit Festival and there's the Austrian Festival, which will happen in September. And if you're looking for your tribe, and any of this sounds right, this is it. This is the place to be. This is the place to be. It's worth it. It's worth the sacrifice, the time, the money. It's worth it 10 times, 20 times, 30 times over. So, thank you for watching my channel. feel free to subscribe and share with other people, and leave a comment below. Let me know if you enjoyed these little story time videos, and maybe I can go into more detail about some things if you've got any questions. Thank you very much for watching.